Okay, it's top of the hour, and welcome to Shenzhen. Welcome to IETF 125 TIPTOP session. Here I am your chair, Jahed, and on the remote I have Padma. In the room we're around like 7 people, 8 people here, and on remote we have a good participant. So Padma, please take us away.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the TipTop Working Group session. So before we get started, please, there's a couple of things. Please make sure that if you're in the room to actually sign the blue sheets. I don't know whether we have any volunteers for note takers. Um,
Yeah, we need a note taker for the meeting. Do we have any volunteer in the room? You don't need to like do the narratives. You just can just write the high level points that was discussed or decided in the meeting. That would be great. Do we have any volunteer? Anybody?
okay, Mark saying that he can do a bit of note taking, but that would be good if somebody else can also do some note taking. I can do some as well, but
Thank Mark. I think we chairs will be
yeah.
amending. Mark, you trying to help.
Okay, great. Thanks, Adam. All right.
We have not too.
Yeah, thank you to both of you. And just before we get started, there's also, as you know, the blue sheets. If you're in the room, make sure that you are actually connected. And for remote people, you should be already signed up. So now let's go through this part, the note well. As everybody hopefully knows by now, by participating in the IETF, you agree to follow the IETF processes and policies. The note well is a reminder of some of the behavior we expect to be professional and extend respect and courtesy to all your colleagues at the same time. If you have any concerns, please do contact the Ombudsman team, and if you're aware of any contribution that is covered by patents, please speak up and let us know. And for the detailed process, I will let you read the rest. Okay, next. The session is recorded. There was a note if you make sure that if you're talking to remotely, to make sure that you keep your video and audio off if you're not using it. And for remote percent as well. Please, for all the note takers, please state your name each time you start beginning to speak in the queue or at the mic. That makes their life much easier as well. So the resources for Shenzhen, you know them already. There is a Zurich channel as well for this IETF 125. And here it is. Today we're just going to go over the working group status, the document status rather by both. I'll be doing this and Zayed might have his comments as well. And then we're going to go look at the details of some delta that has been introduced in the key characteristics, use case, and requirements since our last meeting. The big piece of the meeting is going to be by Marc Blanchet on the TIPTOP IP architecture, and he will be addressing the comments that were sent during the adoption call. And the last one is optimization of CRIP for DSpace transmission. So let's go next directly to the working group status. So the first one is thanks to all the co-authors who updated their drafts. The TIPTOP use case we'll be looking at the Delta today. The draft mini TIPTOP IP architecture has gone for an adoption call, and there were quite a lot of comments. I've actually noticed as well there was an IPR that was flagged during that call, but no one actually filed it. So I will request the person who actually said this to actually file the IPR, and and then the other documents have been updated, but not presented today. So we'll be actually going through the next slides. Yes, ahead. Do you have any other comments? It's a pretty simple agenda today.
No, no, you covered it well. Thank you.
All right, so the first one, Wesley, that's going to be yours.
I still see the slides are trying to come up here.
Okay.
Have they come up for everyone else?
Can you see them? Okay, can you request it again, or else I can share it? Do you want me to share it? I can.
I'm seeing a new deck is being shared. Yeah, I see them. Okay, great.
Right, great.
I'll just let you do it.
Okay, all right. That's fine.
So this will probably be a fairly boring presentation, but let's see. Mark, myself, and Marshall have been editing this use cases document, and you can go to the next chart. We have had this as an adopted working group draft for a little while. There's a GitHub page that you might want to look at in addition to the data tracker. That's where we're keeping track of open issues and taking merge requests from people. This particular presentation today, I'll cover some updates we've made since the last meeting and some of those open issues and pull requests that are on the GitHub. Next chart. So this has been around for a while. The history here actually is only tracking the TIPTOP version of it, but we've been working on this since the Deep Space BOF prior to the TIPTOP naming convention. So we've been working on this a while. It's fairly stable at the moment. And since the last working group meeting in particular, we only made some minor changes that I've got about 2 slides to detail here. We made only one update since the last IETF meeting. So the next chart should mention some acknowledgements. We added content based on comments from these 6 people, and we added your names because you said something on the list or at a meeting or otherwise that made at least some small impact to the document. So we've added these folks to the acknowledgements. Next chart. These are the real updates since the last revision. So there were some comments that certain terminologies we had used weren't clear to everyone who didn't have all the same background. So we put in some more definitions about Lagrange points and what the lunar gateway is. Beyond that, we also added 2 new requirements. Oh, go back. We added 2 new requirements. We added one on location. The thing motivating that was noticing that there are some IETF protocols that actually embed location information, carrying some representation of latitude and longitude coordinates, for instance. And the draft now notes that any of these protocols that are adapted to run for deep space use cases would need to be modified to carry coordinate information that works for other planets or areas as well. We also added a requirement on energy, although it's fairly general, but conservation of energy and low power modes should be a consideration for any protocols that are tailored for use in a deep space environment. And then finally, I think the thing that bears further discussion is we did make some additions to security considerations based on comments. First of all, we added citation for a CCSDS book that describes the threat model a bit better. We had comments from the prior meeting that it would be good to understand more about what the envisioned threats to space missions are that need to be defended against. And so we thought that was a good existing document that we could refer to. We also added some generic text noting the need for efficient key agreement. And we have a note as well on post-quantum crypto, though I would say among the editors, we think we could state something more strongly there than the current text does. We were thinking it should probably say something like crypto in deep space protocols should align with IETF recommendations for post-quantum cryptography or something like that. So we may propose and discuss a stronger statement about post-quantum crypto through the list, or maybe in this meeting discuss. Next chart.
Are we taking questions at the end or what?
That one, feel free to discuss here if you want.
Yeah. So can you go back? So there are no IETF standards for post-quantum, and there's no IETF consensus on what should be there. So I think that doesn't necessarily answer the question of what to be here, but you can't just point out. You can't just point outward. I mean, I guess I would say that the the observed behavior of the IETF has been to drive towards hybrid key establishment mechanisms. That is some combination of elliptic curve and a post-quantum chem, and to drag its feet on post-quantum authentication. And so I'm not saying that's what you want to do. Obviously, situation we have something in space and it's going to be there for for decades, maybe a little different. But I'm just saying that that's the observed behavior of the IETF. And to make matters worse, frankly, the observed behavior of the IETF in some respects is driven by the lousy bandwidth characteristics of post-quantum authentication mechanisms, which of course are more problematic in this case than perhaps in other cases. I think I don't know what to say about this. I think it might be helpful to say. I think perhaps what is required actually some requirements analysis here on that comes out of the specific environment here, which is something these things are in use for a long time, something it's really a problem, something bandwidth, I don't know what, but like to try to actually analyze the situation based on the characteristics of the system and the characteristics of the known technologies, rather than sort of hand it off to the IETF as a whole. So I'm sorry that wasn't very helpful, but I think that's probably the work that has to get done.
I think it was helpful. We know specifically what we shouldn't say now, but we'll probably, maybe we can run some text past you as we try to tighten this up.
Sure, I'd be happy to look at text. As I said, I think it is gonna have to have something about I would say my basic put is you really should do post-quantum key establishment, at least I think there's some question how often you have to do it. Maybe so I know there's basically systems where they do PQ like, once, and then EC like all the time, and they're like, well, I guess we'll take the hit if like if we'll take the forward secrets, the PCS hit if like if the EC is broken, mumble. But I mean like but I think it would be probably not a good idea to not do any kind of post quantum key establishment at all. I think the question of post quantum authentication is a little more tricky given the performance properties. I think it also depend on the the authentication architecture, I guess what I would say. Again, I don't really know what you have in mind here, but like part of why and Church will stop me if I'm saying if I'm going too far into details, but like part of the why that people like the web PKI are not jazzed about post quantum is that like not jazzed about having like a big pile of signatures, and like when you add up like the like you add up like the the signature on the signature in the handshake, and the signature on the certificates, and the signature maybe on some intermediate, and the signature on the SCTs, like you got like 5 or 7 signatures is a lot. So maybe you don't do that. Maybe you won't. Maybe you have a much simpler PKI, and so it's not the hit is bad. So I think it'll have to be analyzed against that. But I think my initial priority, I think people would think it was very out of step to not do anything for key establishment. They would think it was less out of step than anything for authentication. And I see Sean is, by the way, here, so Sean may have an opinion on this topic too. But I see he can hear me because I have some turn his head. So anyway, but I have to take a look at the text.
So we have 3 open pull requests on GitHub also that I wanted to mention because they've been open a while, and we did have on each of them, I think, a little bit of back and forth, but I don't think any of them have really come to consensus, or even really as an editor, I can't look at them and say, I know what to do. So the first is on group key support, and there was a good discussion. It's captured in the comments on that pull request. However, I don't think the discussion really closed. So it seems to be the nexus of it is, do we really need group key agreement? Does that is that needing to be elevated to something that's called out as a requirement in this document? And it seems like we have a mixture of opinions at the moment. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think one way perhaps to think about this question is actually about I think it's kind of a mistake to try to think about this in isolation, frankly. Namely that that like the protocols that I've seen like bandied about here, quick, whatever, are not designed for groups. They're designed for point-to-point communication, and it is unknown what the properties. Assuming you had a group key agreement protocol, it is unknown what the properties of the system would be if you had 3 parties, all of whom shared keys. And so I think that like the actual question is, what is the communications topology, and what are the properties you're intending to introduce in that communications topology? And I think that like basically trying to like graft a group key agreement thing onto like something which is effectively a point-to-point protocol is an error. And if you want a thing that has like point-to-point properties, we ought to design there's a transport problem with what that thing looks like, and then we design the security mechanism of that transport rather than taking the existing transport which is designed for one mechanism and grafting a group key agreement onto it. And so I think that's the place I would start, is like, what are the transport requirements of the thing you're trying to build, and then once we have that understood, we can talk about the key with the key structure. And so it may well be the case that you need a thing that smells like a group messaging system where you have like messages sent to multiple people, and we have data return authentication for them or whatever, and then you would need a group key management system. But then you also have a group messaging system that goes along with that, and what are the requirements of that? And does that smell in any way like, does it smell like a classic messaging system? Does it smell more like a multicast transmission system? Does it smell like what kind of reliability mechanisms does it have, if any? Does it have so I mean, those are the kind of questions I think we ought to address first, and then after that we can talk about group keying. So I'm not saying it should or shouldn't be in there. I'm just saying I think it's subsequent to the architectural question.
So I agree with most of what Ecker said. The question I think, is whether we have a requirement for Mikey, which is IPsec group key management. If we're going to be using group keys at that layer, then we're going to need a solution that is, in my opinion, post-quantum, because this is the key encapsulation stuff that Eckert was talking about in his previous rant. So that, I think, is the question. If we look at the bundle protocol, they felt that they had multiple recipient problem, but they dealt with it like we deal with email, not with group keying. So we do have to know which of those two problems we're trying to solve, because we probably have a tool in the toolbox once we know.
Hey, Wes, I've got a question about this, where this is coming from. The use case would be that we want to do some kind of broadcast of something, right? I'm guessing about scale. One thing is, I would caution a little bit, is that I think we should crawl, walk, and run. And right now we're still in the crawling stage. I think it's good to have it as something we're thinking about for the future, but to put as a requirement, I think it's a little bit strong at this point. Other people may have different opinions about that, but I'm just wondering exactly what is the exact use case where we'll be using that. The only one that I can think might be interesting would be trying to actually send a message for everybody to, update or something. But knowing that we have a limited bandwidth, those kind of use cases become harder. So I am conflicted on that, whether this is really something we need right away.
Yeah, that's helpful input. As far as the use case, in the comments on that pull request, we were noting some of the point to multi-point sort of messaging that's in the LunaNet architecture, and that could be a potential. There are some usages there for different message types that you'd want to send in a sort of broadcast or point to multi-point fashion, but certainly, like you say, we could do a lot without solving that problem at first, and also that initially might be solved in other ways. So
yeah, I just don't want us to be mired in something where we might actually have a easier immediate solution, and it looks more like a scaling thing for me, and it would be good to have a good base solution. That's just my 2 cents.
right.
Thanks.
Right. So the next one we have is on FS and PCS considerations. And again, I don't think the conversation really came to a conclusion. The suggestion was to separate consideration of these two things and not tie them together. And it looked like there's just no agreement. So I don't know what to do about that necessarily, other than maybe bring it to the mailing list and try to expand the conversation there, because there's probably more people on the mailing list than are checking the GitHub pull request. I think same thing on the next one, on the asynchronous rekeying support. Again, it didn't really come to a consensus in the comments on GitHub. So my thought was to try to bring it to the mailing list and figure out whether it's a requirement or just a nice to have thing. But in any case, it seems like we could mention it. It's just how strongly we want to do so.
May I suggest something is that for these two, to bring it back to the list, and that there is a consensus of these, some of them look nice to have for me. Like I say, let's crawl first and walk. I understand it would be good, but is it a requirement? I'm not sure. But let's open this discussion. Thanks.
Yeah,
All right.
I think for this, if I mean, I would prefer to have this discussion in the GitHub. But if there is no like traffic on GitHub, then definitely start separate like mailing thread on these things to decide on that one. And I think for the group key support, we got a very good comments there, so we can work on that
Yeah.
one. But the others, I think just start 3 mailing threads on this one and try to discuss and conclude. And maybe you should be also clear, like we're talking about requirements or considerations in the mailing.
Okay, the next chart is on one more open issue that we're tracking in GitHub. We plan to make a change to mention that there are impacts due to conjunctions between the sun and the different planetary bodies that will cause fairly long duration limits in connectivity sometimes. And just put in a figure and table from a reference you can find at the bottom there that describes that a little bit more, but it's just trying to motivate that there may be spans of multiple days in some places where there won't be connectivity. So something worth mentioning in the document. This is pretty unique to solar system networking, I guess, being offline for multiple days. So we thought we should add something to mention it, but we haven't crafted specific text or put it into the document yet. Next chart. So what we have planned left to do is close out the discussions on security topics that we were talking about previously today, add that text on the conjunctions impact, and then if anything else comes in from the working group, it's more than welcome, but we don't, as the editors, have any more lists of pending changes planned at the moment. That's all I've got.
Okay, I see Tony on the queue. So
Hi, Tony Lee. Wes, how far are we from adoption on this?
We're past adoption. It is adopted.
Okay. So then how far till we are closed here?
It feels like we're close, but I think those few security things we were just talking about will require some real work and thought. I mean, I'm optimistic we can get that before the next meeting, but I don't think there's a need to rush it either.
right. So my suggestion to the authors, like whether some people actually create an issue on the GitHub or in the mailing list, there's some, I think the authors, if you just start to create the issues on the GitHub, then we can see like when you have no issues, I think we're ready. You can say that we're ready for like and go the next step. So that would be a good marker on where we are. Just a suggestion for you guys. Mark?
Yeah, hello. I would like to respond to Tony about how far are we for publication requests, and I would sense of having that document lying around a little bit more, and taking the wisdom of Sean at some meeting before, I don't remember which one, but given that I don't think we may find additional requirements as we go over, the other protocols of our stack. So I keep it on the side for some time before moving to the next publication. Not years away, but sometime.
Hey, Wes, me again. There's something that I have been thinking for some time, but I wanted to let the discussion progress on that. Is you mentioned energy earlier, and you've mentioned a number of things. There are a number of limitations due to the space vehicle. And I think one of them that we really need to think of as well is about traffic priorities, because we will have network management and management of the vehicle itself. And that cannot, the actual customer traffic or whatever payload traffic cannot actually impede on that. We haven't written anything about that. And I can definitely, give you more details on that. But I think this is something we need to add, because that's going to influence also the storage, store and forward, and all these other things that comes into play. So, so definitely, I would like to see something like this come up.
That makes sense. Leveraging existing IETF mechanisms for priority and precedence. But yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't think we need to invent anything, but we need to be aware that these things should be there for things to work well.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, I see nobody's in the queue, so thanks, Wes. I think we can move to the next presentation, and you have some work to do.
Yeah, the next person is actually Mark. Mark, do you want to take the hand on the slides?
Sure. How do I do this?
You have to go. You have to request. Okay, just give me one second. I'll try to see if I can actually.
I click share slides. No.
Yeah, so I'll try to pass the.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I have it.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you. Okay. Good morning, afternoon, evening, good night for maybe some. This is an update on the draft TIPTOP IP architecture, which is not yet a working group document. And that's the purpose of this presentation is to go through all the comments that were done during the call for adoption. Okay, so the working group call for adoption was for version 02. That was done by the co-chairs on December 14th. The outcome summarized by the co-chairs was sent on 12 January. I'm quoting the email, we received responses from 22 participants. A clear majority expressed support for adoption. Several participants did not support adoption at this stage and raised points requiring further work, and a few provided comments without stating an explicit position. It is important to restate the purpose of the working group adoption call. Support for adoption reflects the working group interest in the topic and in progressing the work within the working group. It doesn't imply agreement with the current text, solution, approaches, or conclusions, nor does it represent approval of the final document. And I know I'm repeating, but I think that's an important thing to know and say. The email sent by the co-chairs had the summary, including a table of content of comments, and I will take that. I'm going to show the content of the table in the next slides. The co-chairs request the editors to update the document, and we made a new version, 03, that we posted on March 2nd. And at the same time of the new version posted, we replied to the co-chairs email with the kind of a our response to each of the comment. So this presentation is really the same content as the reply. In the summary of, in the table of comments from the co-chair, there were 10 people listed supporting the adoption with no additional requests or comments, so this is not shown in this presentation. Caveat, while we tried to resolve the comments, the outcome is not necessarily a document ready. It's not a document ready for publication, but hopefully ready for adoption. So we still have work to do on it. So let's go into each, and the order here is just the order of the table of comments. So comments from Carlos, he supports the adoption. He was suggesting something about the fact that the table of content, especially the applications and HTTP and stuff, were not structured properly. We already had a pull request on this by the editors, so we agreed and we created a new application section where HTTP is one of the section, and we added a generic text at the beginning of the application section. I'm not going to read all the text here, but this is the screen here is showing the diff tool of the IETF between the 0.2 and 0.3 versions. The other comment.
Hi. So I'm actually reading this text now, and I'm not sure what it says. Can you go back?
Okay.
So when you say it's pre-cached and replicated at planetary orbital gateways, like who are those gateways associated with? It's supposed to be the origin?
Read. Where's the... oh, okay. I see where you're referring to. The pre-cache and replicated planetary, right? So that most REST are certified locally where an exchange is tolerated. Okay, so no, it's not the origin. It's so, for example, you could see that some HTTP content are cached on the celestial body, where to avoid having, you know, back and forth on the deep space links. So it's really, you know, a normal, you know, it's like a CDN in some ways, but on the celestial bodies network. And you may remember that the typical, the current plan for deployment is where the celestial body network will be very well connected in the sense of using, you know, our terrestrial technologies, and with essentially, you know, high bandwidth, very well connected environment, and no delay. So while the deep space you know, links will have heavily limited bandwidth, long delays and disruptions and stuff. So that's the kind of the architecture, or the, so I don't know if I'm clear.
I fear it's not. I guess something like so in the case of a CDN, right? The CDN is the origin as far as the client is concerned, and maybe the CDN happens to like go back to the origin, but that's the client's business. And
well, okay, yeah, right. Okay. Well, I guess we probably need to work a bit that text actually.
Well, I guess I'm worried it's not a text issue, I guess, which is like conventional non-encrypted HTTP caching depends on endpoints which are effectively trusted by the client, but do not present the origin's identity, right? because it only works without TLS, and TLS basically breaks like all conventional HTTP caching. And
Yes.
so, and that'd be true for Quick or whatever, right? And so I guess my question is that the model you have in mind here? Like, what, like, I guess, like, my question is like, how is this supposed to work?
It's a good question. I don't have a good answer right now in terms of how, I guess that the HTTP part is probably, not enough specified
Right.
for the moment.
Right. I think what's important to understand is the trust relationship between these endpoints.
Sure.
So that's the thing I think probably we need to sort out. Because I'll try to be done now, but I think I'd flag that because that's actually quite important, and actually goes to whether or not it's acceptable to have sometimes like here in this working group, like what we're trying to do is like adapt conventional transport protocols that are designed for like very short latency, and then like make the transport work better. And sometimes I hear things that sound like actually we need a different, like a conceptually different design. And I worry that this is in the second category rather than the first. But anyway, I'm happy to sit down. But I'd flag that as a potential issue.
Thank you very much. I think it's a very appropriate and unfinished text. Let's say it that way. I guess we'll see how it goes, but we do have between all the comments some overlap, so we may end up answering questions where they are already answered somewhere else or things like that during the presentation. So we'll see. So another one, let me see, how can I change the screen? Okay, so Mr. Chen, support for adoption, yes. Co-chairs ask their summary, which was a bit more meta than the actual comment. Clearer end-to-end architecture view, clarification protocols, expanded security discussion, store and forward mechanisms without protocol modification. So the way we handle this, and actually this one is actually handled it's actually our response to multiple comments. So we had a whole new section on architecture overview. That one of the things is that it defines different node types, and then small picture that describes a bit what we're talking about, and Mr. Chen was also suggesting drawing. We have a completely new rewritten security section, and we also enhanced the introduction. So again, that's kind of what you see in green on the screen is actually all new text. I guess I'm moving ahead. Comments from Brita Ale. There was no support for adoption. She raised concern. So co-chairs resumed by saying there was concern about architectural scope, protocol specificity, and treatment of security consideration. So one of the outcome, this is also a change that we did for multiple comments, was that there was a specific complaint that Quick was kind of even if the editors were not intending to, it was seen as a requirement of you need to use Quick, where there was no intent for that. So we revised the text and we kind of remove Quick as an implicit default and write it as just an example. And we actually added other transports to the transport section. The other complaint was that the zero RTT that is, for example, implemented in Quick was how can I say, not enough characterized, especially about the replay attacks. And so we kind of write that This is, explicitly that zero RTT was subject to replay attacks and should be disabled depending on the security policy of the organizations that is, or the application or whatever. We rewrote text on the key establishment at launch. Again, a similar way in the sense that it was interpreted as something you should do, and we really change it to something which is, you could, but be careful about the security considerations about it. And again, for like the previous one, we rewritten the security section. I'm seeing on the side some comments on the chat, but I can really not.
So actually,
yes.
Can you go back to the previous one?
Yes.
I think the way I would manage this actually would be, like maybe just to make everything starting from transports more general, and not talk really about zero TT, and in particular not say zero TT should be disabled. It may well be the case that zero TT should be disabled, but why would you say that here? That's a question we should resolve later. So I think like I would just sort of say like it's desirable, like is desirable to like pick the connection up quickly. Is like the key point, right? That's like the point this is making, is whatever like we're designing, it'd be good to like to be able to like pick the connection up quickly. So I just think like
I agree.
Say, like, yeah.
I think our current writing is almost like what we're talking now, you and I, but it may require additional, text wordsmithing. One thing that we try to do is essentially change a document so that all the friction points go away for adoption, but we do not pretend that the text is final. Far from that. But we're proving based on the comments. But yeah, I agree. There's probably some additional, but it's anyway. I think we tried to write the way you said it, but maybe it's not yet.
Yeah, I think I would. I mean, yeah. I could send more comments if you want, but I think what I would do is I would remove the statement the use of zero T isn't recommended. I think that isn't getting us very far. Like maybe if we just recommend it, but like that can come later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I still have a big screen, but okay. Let me. Sorry, it's because I don't see it's too small for me. The other, there were a lot of comments from Britta and others about security. I'm not, speaking for myself. I'm not a security expert, but and we wrote something. I'm sure there will be more to edit on it, but it was obviously a very thin section at the beginning. I think it's better now, but frankly, it should be much better with contribution from people. From Marshall, support for adoption, yes. There were Marshall was talking about surface networking and around those, and we actually enhanced the section 1 and also referred to use case document, and the section 2 was added. So all this kind of clarify that surface networking is pretty important. And there was I think a few, if I remember well, a few email discussion about is this in scope or not, given that surface networking will be high speed and well connected and stuff like almost like the normal internet we have. But in reality, is we're looking at the whole end-to-end architecture, not just the pieces. Jimmy supporting yes, and similar comments from that I just talked about surface networking. So we kind of also take care of this comment too. That's why I'm not showing text on the screen, new text, because I already presented. Sean was not supporting for adoption. Okay, so he suggested that the co-chairs were saying that he suggested that the draft would be more requirements and constraint focused and less solution centric. I hope we did enough of this. I don't know if we did too much or not enough, but there is a completely new section 2 with the node types as described, with requirements, and quick removes as implicit default. And I'm seeing on my screen that Sean is kind of I'm expecting a question.
I figured it was going to go there. No, hey, I just wanted to say, Mark, I think you're moving in the right direction. And I think that Ecker's comments earlier about this draft and the things he want to change are basically exactly along the same lines that I want. So I think that we're definitely getting there. And I appreciate your efforts. Thanks.
Thank you. From Eric, support for adoption, no. Suggested clarifying architectural intent, normative expectations, and removing vague examples. We similarly to others, so there was kind of a trend of various commenters about similar, things to change in the draft. So similarly, we add a new section 2 with node types and requirements. Quick was removed as an implicit default. We remove WASM, and we have a new security section. Again, I already showed the text. Johnson Yu, support for adoption. He suggested strengthening architectural function beyond conceptual description. That's the summary of the co-chairs. We had a new section on architectural overview, section 2, as I showed before, and we added additional text regarding PCE. So hopefully that take care of his comment. Russ was not supporting adoption. Co-chair summarized it, comments on requesting focus on architectural level requirements rather than solution selection. We replied on the mailing list. There were kind of 2 comments essentially from Russ. The first one was about addressing, and we kind of enhanced the text there. The second one was about the second one was about the IRR and the addressing. So we actually add text on addressing, and the IRR person actually didn't require any change. So that's how we solved the Russ comment, hopefully. Benjamin Dowling was not supporting adoption. Similar vein than Britta Hale, requested the clear articulation of security goals for space networking. We rewrote the security section. We didn't add any new requirements, security requirements, as we feel that it should be first defined clearly in the use case requirements. Because part of his comment was kind of implying that we have some requirement, for example, what we discussed in the previous presentation. So our point here is we should first get consensus on the requirements that will be done in the use case requirement document, and then depending on the outcome of this consensus, then we'll write the right text in the architecture. Jad El Sham our IR person. There was no position for adoption. He suggested that we should be engaging the RR community and to ensure realistic addressing proposal. The addressing section has been announced. We reference to the other draft, and I've seen someone who actually started this discussion in some RR mailing list. So I think we're getting there. Mr. Tian was not supporting the adoption. Again, similarly about security. So again, we remove quick as implicit default. Just write it as an example. We added other transports. We rewrote the 0RTT text. Rewrote text on key establishment at launch and a new rewritten security section. So that's, I think, all the comments we received. So editors hopefully have addressed the working group adoption call comments. Frankly, this doesn't say the document is ready for publication, and we already have very good comments during my short presentation. But we're really targeting it for adoption. So I think the working group should be looking at the document. Is this the right kind of a frame for this milestone? So we're again requesting working group adoption of this new version of the document. That's it for me.
Hi, Mark. Thank you so much for enormous amount of work at addressing all the comments, and thank you for making the document much better, as well as your co-authors. So there has been a number of discussion in the room and on the sort of channel as well about whether we have. I think the document has addressed a lot of the comments that were there. Do we want to? The authors are requesting the working group adoption, so.
So yes, I mean this. The authors have been working on the like the comments they have got, and they have shared their updates in the mailing list before this meeting. So we expected like whoever has issues actually could have a look at it and come back on the mailing list or today. So I think, Padma, before calling for the poll, I would still like to ask the room and the remote, like if there are any outstanding concerns from the people who has already raised their concerns, or there are new concerns. We should give some time. Like if you have any comments, please come to the mic now. Otherwise, I'll go and start the poll. Well, I don't see anybody coming to the room, and I don't see anybody on the remote on the queue. So let's just start the poll. So it talks about, is this document ready for working adoption in its current state to start the working on this architecture? So I think that's the question. Please go ahead. So things are okay. I just was going to say the things are settled down, then there was one up. So let's wait a bit. So now don't see the numbers are changing, so it's stable. So just for the record, we have total participant 63. We have yes, 14 yes, 2 no's, and 7 no opinion. And I'm gonna terminate the show of hands. So we have noticed 2 no, and I think it would be great to know like why the thing is not ready. So those who have voted for no, could you please confirm now or maybe in the mailing list if you'd like to? Okay, I don't see anybody coming up in the room in the main remote. I think Padma, we can say like we have a rough consensus here to adopt this one, but I would like to confirm that on the mailing list because there are some participants are not there in the call, so they can actually come back in the mailing list. So the current decision is like to have a rough consensus on adopting this document as is this now, and we'll reconfirm the adoption on the mailing list.
Correct.
And I can see our AD is nodding, so process was okay.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, thanks, Mark, for your presentations. I think we're right on time. Actually, we're ahead of time, actually. So, Padma, what's our next? Okay, so you're here. You have the presentation, right? Yeah, come over. Padma, could you share the slides? What happened? Did we lost Padma? Share slide. Okay, so I'm trying to share the slides. All slots are requested. Okay. And now we have the slides. So you also have the clicker. Yeah. So here you have. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, actually, I'm not really good at English, so let me use my paper. Is that okay?
We
Oh,
can't
thank
hear
you.
nor see the speaker at this point.
Actually, I'm not a good English speaker. Let me use my paper. Good morning, everyone. I'm Yu Jianhao from Nanjing University. The title of my presentation today is Optimization of QUIC for Deep Space Transmission, an architecture of performance enhancement and security extension. Traditional TCP and QUIC fail in deep space networks. Their congestion control and packet loss recovery rely heavily on low delay ACK feedback. However, deep space midlink have minute-level RTTs and high bit area rate. This strong couple recover delay with RTT and cause severe head-of-line blocking. To solve this, we introduce part 1, quick space extensions. Our core concept is to replace network probing with prior knowledge. Specifically, we use fixed congestion and flow control windows to handle extreme delay, proactive packet level forward area corrections (FEC) to handle high area rates, and strict rate pacing to handle bandwidth asymmetry. To emulate the huge delay caused by retransmission, we adopt an adaptive packet level FEC called steaming codes, SC. Unlike traditional block coding, it encodes unacknowledged packets through a sliding window. The receiver can incrementally decode and progressively recover data without waiting for block boundaries. Data is recovered immediately once enough repair symbol arrival. Those two diagrams compare the transmission process of standard quick and quick space. In standard quick, packet loss trigger retransmissions and creating massive tail delay under minute level RTTs. However, in quick space, lost packets are instantly recovered locally by FEC with successful decoupled loss recover from the RTT. To summarize part 1, QuickSpace achieves RTT-independent recover via steaming codes and element probing overhead using fixed windows. A small simulation verifies that it significantly outperforms stand potential in good boot, delay, and buffer occupy. However, end-to-end optimization alone is not enough in heterogeneous relay networks. Segment optimization is essential. This conflict is the end-to-end encrypted quick completely invalidates traditional transparent performance enhancement proxies like with PEP because the proxies cannot inspect the encrypt transport layer state. This brings us to part 2, the non-transparent secure proxy, NTSP. We propose a novel proxy architecture featuring explicitly authorized splitting, segment optimization, and payload encryption. Looking at the architecture on the left, our core design includes 1. Explicitly authorized splitting. We use explicit signal to terminate the transport connection at the gateway. This securely splits the end-to-end deep space link into two terrestrial TCP quick segment and a quick space tunnel with zero implicit hijacking. The number 2 is ALDE, application layer data encryption. The user data is completely opaque to the proxy, achieving zero data trust. The proxy can optimize the transport, but can't decrypt the contact. Number 3 is flow control back pressure. The mechanism precisely matches the high-speed terrestrial sender to the constrained space link, preventing proxy buffer overflow. This trust balance is achieved through ALDE. The proxy can optimize the connection but can't decrypt, tamper with, or replay user data. This is because the ALDE keys are explicitly derived from the end-to-end TLS handshake, which means we still need one RTT for handshake in the proxy architecture, giving the proxy no access to the connection. The ALDE ensures the proxy security. The next challenging is stability. The huge bandwidth gap between the fast terrestrial link and the narrow deep space link causes severe proxy buffer bloat. We design a flow control back pressure mechanism by mathematically deriving the optimal flow control windows. We strictly limit the accessed segment rate, guaranteeing good boot while element buffer bloat. The architecture on the left is our prototype system we call PP space. To summarize the 3 pair of NTSP, the first one is explicitly authorized splitting. enable peer hop optimization without breaking end-to-end data security. The number 2 is ALDE encryption, protects the payload to achieve zero data trust. And the number 3 is is back pressure flow control. It may be a mistake. The number 3 is back pressure flow control, element buffer blow to guarantee stability. We plan to consolidate explicitly authorized splitting, ALDE, quick space optimization, and back pressure flow control into a unified deep space proxy architecture draft. Our ultimate goal is to provide a high security performance and a deployable IP transport standard for deep space networks. Thank you. My presentation is over. Thank you.
Eric.
Eric Ving, the responsibility for TIPTOP. Nice presentation. I must say that the transport thing is not in my cup of tea, so it's more for Zed. So it was about my head. No, just to be clear, mostly you know that TIPTOP cannot modify transport protocol, so it's not in our charter. So interesting presentation, but it will never be adopted within TIPTOP. Now, there are other groups that may be interested. I don't know. Later today, there is the space research group. I don't know whether you are presenting there as well.
I think it is in deep space. It's in deep space for IP. So maybe I got it wrong. Sorry.
No need to be sorry, right? So I have not lost my time. It is interesting. Nobody in the room lost their time. But if you want to work more on this and make a draft that is adopted and finally published in RFC, you will need to find the right working group. And all what I'm saying is that TIPTOP is not the place.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. And you may want to present it as well. There is a research group later today, right? Okay, or you can, but yeah. So you may want to come to the mic, if you don't mind, to say just this. You are the chair of the research group, right?
He's thinking.
Yes, yeah, Jörg Ott. Yeah, we are running our space research group later this afternoon, and discussions like this would certainly be welcome and in scope of what we are looking at. So we are a research group, so this isn't about any kind of near-term standardization, but since you're doing research, that is certainly welcome input.
I mean, I'll just add to what Eric said. Yeah, this was fascinating. Thank you very much for bringing it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, Padma, you want to say something?
Hey, I just want to say my understanding also was this was interesting to TIPTOP to understand, but it would be actually carried in sister working groups or research groups.
Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, I mean the reason that we had this talk in this working group is just to inform everybody, like, okay, there are some thinking going on the proxy-based communication, and we have this kind of like HTTP traffic kind of thing where we already have proxy. We have for Quick, we have mask and all these things. So it's good information for us. But as you rightly pointed out, like in TIPTOP working group, we are not supposed to change anything on an existing protocol, but we can work on the architecture, we can work on the use cases on this kind of thing. So if you have some use case input or like some architectural requirement that you'd like to discuss, you're more than welcome to come here. Otherwise, if you want to change something in the Quick, you need to go to Quick working group. You want to do Quick plus proxy kind of thing, then mask working group is like the right place to go. And of course, space RG is something that if you would like to get the research community or research going on before you come to IETF to do some standardization. So that would be the case. So, and also like, I think you maybe something that when I saw this slide, I was having like, okay, we don't propose an IETF RFC. We start working with a working group, individual working group drafts, and then go find a working group where we can actually get this adopted. Like you had this discussion about adopting the architecture draft here. So we adopt, and then the working group works on, and then we actually send it to ISG to public for publication at the RFC. So yeah, I think yeah, I mean we're here. And grab anybody, grab the IDs to help you understand the process, or talk to me or any of the chairs or anybody who knows about it, and then we can help it out. But thanks for the presentation. It was interesting, and I don't see anybody coming to the mic. So that was the last presentation in this meeting, and I guess
Thank you.
so with that, Padma, I don't know, like if you want to say anything, otherwise we are done for today.
No, I think from my end, I think there is nothing much more. I see Tony on the list. Let me let him speak first, and then before
I didn't
closing.
notice that. Sorry about that.
Hi.
Go ahead,
I'd
Tony.
like to update people. As Mark said, I've been talking to the RIRs. It's been interesting. I'm talking to both Aaron and Ripe. So far, it's me against 2 continents worth of policy wonks. I'm not a policy wonk, so this is having the expected outcome. I would appreciate help if anybody would like to pitch in and chime in on behalf of Address Space for Space. It would be very, very helpful, especially if you work for a space agency or if you work for an ISP, either one. Thank you.
Warren Kamari, specifically on this. I think that what might be a nicer approach is if we ask the IANA to please set aside a block, and then they can hand bits out to each RIR. I think that will avoid some of the, and the document kind of implies you could do that, but I think that would avoid some of the policy and similar concerns. I also happen to participate relatively often in both Aaron and Ripe, and so I think we have some of this discussion there. I think at least some of the bit that's driving some RIR's twitchiness is the view that one of them might end up being the space RIR. Whereas if we set aside a large IPv6 block and say, dear Aaron, please hand this out to all the RIRs for their use, and then we still get the benefits of aggregation. Each RIR could still do, some space for different bodies. Yes, potentially that means at the end we have 5 different bits that all point at one planet or similar, in which case you can just do a little bit of like this bit you can't quite aggregate, but you can at least still have a large block for all of space. And I think that that's the important bit, because that way people know this is going to need slightly different processing when sending packets. Hopefully that was coherent.
So Warren, stay there. I was going to ask you anyway at this question, whether we'd have come into mic or not, like, because you know about it. So to do that, even like, I don't think like we need to discuss that, what exactly to do, but to do that, do we need to do anything from the working group point of view or IETF point of view to start the process? And I think what would that be?
I think what that is we write a document saying, we, the IETF, think it would be really good for there to be a block for space. Dear IANA, please set aside a block for space of approximately this size. And then at the same time, we can start having separate discussions with the RIRs of like, and say, in the IANA consideration, please set aside block this side, and hopefully hand them out to all the RIRs as you see fit or as needed. That way, we have given an instruction or request to the IANA, and then we can also start talking to the IANA and RIRs to be like, if you guys get a block, here's what you should probably do with it.
And the we part is the working group or the IESG?
I think the working group should write a draft, basically finish this draft and say a larger block for all the RIRs. And then the working group will drive, hopefully publish it as RFC, and the ISG can start doing discussions as well. I can also, like, next time I see folk at the IANA, like, just have a little chat as well. I'm assuming people have already. Oh dear, I've triggered the Eric.
I think
I'm
people
happy to help with
started to do the discussion, but I think I was trying to get the process through so that if we need to do that, we need to start from the working group. So that's an indication for us to take on something.
I think the working group should do it. I think the working group should do it because it adds a lot more transparency, and the ISG can also start having the discussion in the meantime if they want. So when the draft lands, they can just be like chug chug chug. But I don't think it's reasonable for the ISG to say, "Dear Ayana, please set aside a massive big block for this stuff." And I understand in the grand scheme of things, it's not a massive big block, but
Yeah, I agree with that approach. Yes.
So
Agreed.
just a quick point, Eric, again, Eric Ving, because I see Eric Klein in the queue later. To reply to you, Warren, it's typically done by the working group and approved by the ISG and directly to the IANA. There may be a different scheme whether you get, like you are proposing, a big one chunk by a continent, let's say, or a big one, single one, doesn't really change thing. We've done it, for instance, for the SRV6 block, right? It was a 6-man, then approved by the ISG and IANA reserved. The only thing is you follow up with the rear, potential future rear, whatever. So,
Great, thank you.
Hi, Tony Lee again. Warren, the draft I wrote is exactly the draft you're asking for, I think, and you're asking for a content change. That's fine. However, I originally said exactly what you asked for, which is request IANA to assess things, and I was taken quite politely to school and said, that's not how things work anymore. So apparently IANA has delegated numbers to the Number Resource Organization, NRO, NC. And so we don't get to ask IANA for this. We have to go talk to the NRO NC. Yes, I've tried to open that discussion as well. And it's a mess, okay? We basically have to have a multi-party discussion across RIRs and the NRO NC. And yes, we can take the technical approach you propose if that makes them happy, but it's not clear that it will.
Yeah, we just discussed some of the things in the previous meetings, and that's why I was trying to get the process out of you guys so that, because I kind of know the process, like how to do that, these things, but I think this is something that we need to discuss. I mean, maybe ISG would like to help here, Eric.
yeah, I mean, the NROAC, I think, would be involved with the NRO total, but I would have still thought that it would be the IANA would say that there is a block available for the RIRs to hand out, not that the NRO or RIRs would ask the IANA, please, can you do this? Because I still think it's, anyway, we'll have more of a chat. And yeah, your document almost says what I was proposing, just I think it wasn't clear, a block that then can then be potentially further divided. But yeah, this needs more chatting.
All I can say is I was told different, and I don't know what the reality is.
So let's get Eric. Eric, you're up next.
So we'll take an action item on this. You and me, Zed, on this one to follow up on this one. On the addressing.
I just wanted to register a contrary point of view. I don't think we should be requesting an aggregate for space just yet. I think from the perspective of somebody on Earth, everything not on Earth might look like a useful aggregate. From the perspective of things that are in space, everything not Earth is still too big to be like just one aggregate. So I'm not sure that there's value there yet. And I think if we go down this road, we're going to end up with a lot of code that says if prefix starts with foo, then do the space thing. And I think that's probably going to get pretty bad in the long run. So
if you look at the draft, the prefix, it's a prefix per celestial body, not all of space. The address space block for all of space is just for allocation ease and not meant to aggregate that way.
There's a lot of space between celestial bodies, though.
Well, so we can talk about what those aggregates should be. I mean, that's the point of the draft, is to spark that discussion. There is nothing special cased about this address space. Certainly, I abhor all special case address space. This is just an allocation, so we do get aggregation, nothing more.
So,
My observation is that it will result in a lot of specifications inevitably. Like I know that it's not the document may not call for that, but I think that's just where we're going to be in the end. If we don't have another mechanism to learn from the network something about connectivity properties.
Hi, this is Padma, co-chair. Tony, would it be something maybe possible to have just a range for experimental for now, and rather than go, having something completely, I would say, written in stone. So I'm just wondering whether there is a way of just having an experimental range.
We can certainly experiment if you're willing to fund the expedition to go renumber things that have been deployed. I'm told that's rather
right now we
expensive.
have an advantage is that we don't have the scale where this is going to be a problem yet. That's why I'm trying to find a middle way. But that's just my 2 cents. But
we've got agencies launching missions every day. Artemis is about to go up. This is an ongoing problem, and it's started already.
Okay, so
we can discuss this after.
Yeah, I think you guys can discuss this offline, perhaps. I think the action point for the working group is to like really start to think about this documentation. Then we can have this discussion while we're creating this document. Right now, we don't have any milestone or anything like that to adopt such a document. Then basically, as a point of view, do you have any concern if the working group wants to start working on that from the chartering point of view?
So Eric Vink again. So obviously, I think we need to work on this, right? Point taken. I would say writing the requirement for this is the first one, right? Getting the size and the details can be sorted later. It kind of entered the charter in the sense of, is it part of the architecture? And addressing is part of the architecture for me. So for me, it fits the charter.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if later in the process people say no, then we can still recharter, because I think that's a really important problem to be solved. Right.
Right. This is something that we need to take care of, and we can take care of, like as you say, like you mentioned 2 things. One is a requirement, one is architecture. Yeah. So we can actually formulate this part of the requirement and architecture and actually start working on it.
Correct.
And Tony already has a document. I think that could be a good start too. So Tony, will you be able to like take all the discussions now and try to put it in something? Okay, I see Tony is nodding. So let's try to go, and perhaps in Vienna we can discuss more about this in the next meeting again.
But I think it's also important to keep this separate from the architecture document, because architecture document is well progressed, right? This part is still beginning, so don't slow down the architecture document. Right? Keep the 2 documents separate.
Okay.
With a pointer. Right.
Yeah, I mean the architecture will not be going for the details of it, but should mention it, and then this document can take care of the rest of the things. Tony, you want to say something?
Yeah, we already took it out of the architecture document for exactly that reason.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thanks for the discussion. It was really good and useful. Padma, you want to say something?
No, I'm good. Thank you everyone for being here. I think it was an interesting meeting. Thanks.
Okay, with that, see you in Vienna. Thanks for today.
See you all.
Meeting adjourned.
Bye-bye.